These are the best survivors for beginners in Identity V. Let's go. Let's begin with the not bad tier. At the bottom of the not bad tier we have Explorer. Explorer is an interesting character and very different than other characters in the game because his abilities are very based around hiding. He is really good for hiding, and on some maps he is absolutely fantastic as he can blend in with some of the grass. He has fast decoding once he's found those pages around the map that give him almost instant decoding, but it does take a little bit of time to go and find them. And he has silent vaulting. One of the issues he has, and this is why he's at the bottom of the top best survivors for this, is hiding is not really a good strategy in Identity V. It does take quite a lot of practice. Also, I would say that Explorer is not amazing for beginners because his abilities can be quite confusing. And even if you do understand these abilities, you can just be really unlucky with the RNG, by that I mean the luck, of finding pages around the map. Sometimes they'll be close to you, sometimes they'll be right next to a survivor that his kiting is, and you won't be able to go over there for most of the match, meaning that you're just a based survivor when it comes to decoding. Next up we have Female Dancer. Female Dancer is a jack of almost all trades, I would say. She has fast decoding and fast assist. She can use her boxes to speed up decoding to almost the same as a full decoder, in some cases faster than some decoders, and she can also heal up people faster if you're within the box and help other survivors that are kiting in the area of one of her boxes that she's placed down. She's got great kiting abilities with some practice, because she does take some practice to know when to use the boxes in the right time. But if you want to use her boxes efficiently, it does take some practice, because in most cases survivors that are new won't really know where to put the boxes and they'll just be useless, placed in the middle of nowhere. And one of the issues that she has is that she takes some setup. Her abilities aren't instant. If you want to be able to kite with her, well, you need to set up some boxes, and let's just hope that the hunter's not too close to you, because if they are, then you're not going to be able to use your abilities and you're just going to have to base kite once again. That is a bit of an issue for a beginner survivor. Moving up into the next tier, we have the good choice tier. At the bottom of the good choice tier, we have Mind's Eye. Mind's Eye is an incredible decoder and probably the strongest speed decoder in the game. One of her strongest things for beginners is that she can reveal the hunter at the beginning of the match for the whole team, meaning the whole team is aware of what hunter they're going against and where he is. That is something that where beginners usually suffer because they don't know where the hunter's coming from and they don't know what they're up against. Her ability to be able to see the hunter when she's in close proximity to them, even through the walls, is something that's really useful for tight kiting, and if you get to master this, this can mean you're a really good kiter. And she has insane decoding speed. That means that she can quickly finish cipher machines if the hunter never finds you. That is cool because most of the time you'll be aware of where the hunter is. It is a little bit difficult for beginners though to get used to playing in black and white, and if you're not familiar with the maps, this can seem incredibly daunting, and is incredibly daunting because you have no idea where you are. If the hunter is knowledgeable, they can actually hear in which direction your slam cane ability came from, so they can locate you in the early games. Next up we have Lucky Guy. Lucky Guy has the biggest utility out of all characters in the game, I think, because of the fact that he has multiple different abilities that he can pick and choose from at the beginning of the match. Of course, he has the ability to open and wish for one of the items that are available in a chest, and then he gets it instantly, and he can also do this and guarantee something if you missed it on the previous attempt of getting something from a chest. Why he's really good is he is unpredictable for some hunters to deal with, and you can of course choose items that best counter the hunter, or what you think will best counter that hunter. This of course does take a little bit of practice, and you will need to know more or less what hunter is weakest to what, but you can use common sense. And you can't really go wrong with some good kiting items like a pocket watch or a football or something like that. He has good stats with the veteran boost. That means he can get an extra speed boost if he does get hit, so you can transition really far away really quickly, but he does require some knowledge of how to use items properly. Lawyer has tons of benefits to him. First of all, he can't get terror shocked, and terror shocks are probably one of the best and strongest weaknesses that survivors have if they are beginners. This means you can't get terror shocked when rescuing. You can't get terror shocked whilst vaulting a window, because lots of people vault a little bit too late in beginner tiers, and just in general you can't get terror shocked. He has decent stats plus the veteran boost that Lucky Guy has as well, meaning that he can transition if he gets hit, and in the early games, similar to Mind's Eye, he can see the location of the hunter. but without notifying them. That is something that is really important. His decoding is really good, meaning that he's just a more solid survivor because he can kite better, because he doesn't have any real weaknesses per se, and he has most of the benefits that Mindsai has. His issue is that he doesn't have strong kiting abilities, and if he does get found, he doesn't really have any good way of escaping. He just has to base kite with a little bit of knowledge of being able to see through walls when using the map. Sia is next. Sia is one of the strongest survivors, or possibly the strongest survivor in the whole of Identity V in general, but that doesn't mean that he's good for beginners. Let's talk about some of his benefits. Sia is really good for beginners because he has a lot of utility, both for you and also for your team, that you can obviously pick and choose. You can protect yourself if you're in the kite, or you can protect a teammate from a distance by using the owl to shield one of their hits. This ability isn't very difficult to use and very intuitive once you've played with it a couple of times. He has good stats, although they do decrease with every time that you use the owl, and mastering him can take a little bit of time, but just getting the basics is not too difficult. I would say one of the issues is his full potential is just a little bit too hard for beginner players and does take quite a lot of practice, but just getting the basics down and using that one owl can be quite game changing for you and your team. Let's move into the final tier, the best choice tier. At the bottom of the best choice tier, we have Coordinator. Coordinator is a strange survivor. She has, some would say that her ability is a little bit not very powerful, but in my opinion of lots of players who've played this game for a long time, her abilities are very powerful if used with patience. If you use that Phlegon at the right time, you can change the course of a match. She has good stats and not a very bad decoding debuff, considering it only activates at certain periods of the match. She really is just a solid survivor with close to no drawbacks, really. One of the main issues that she has is that she's almost useless without an ability, but like I said, she's just a solid rescuer and can be used in multiple different situations during the match and can be really impactful at the right times. Next up, we have Gravekeeper. Gravekeeper is similar to some of the survivors that are coming up next because, first of all, he has great kiting abilities. His ability to dig underground means that he's even faster than a normal survivor in movement speed, and he can tank and take one hit. This ability to be able to absorb hits is really good for beginner survivors because they usually just get hit quite easily. His rescue abilities are really good because he can rescue very quickly after coming out of the ground. That can be really good to avoid terror shocks that obviously beginners are very prone to. He's one of the only survivors that has an ability that's connected to basement rescues, as he can make a hole in the ground and just drop through the ground into the basement, meaning that you can completely avoid some of the double hitting scenarios that some hunters will try to force you into with the basement rescue. His downsides are that he has a small decoding debuff, but it's not a big one, so that's quite good, and he isn't really amazing once the shovels have disappeared, similar to Coordinator, but he's okay. We have Mercenary next. Mercenary is a damage sponge. He's able to rescue even when he's been hit. That is fantastic for beginner teams because they might need someone to rescue when they're all at half health. He has great escape abilities, having 3 elbow pads that let you quickly get away from a hunter if they got too close to you, because in most cases you're not going to know where they are, and he's very lenient if you make mistakes that of course beginners make. He is a fantastic rescuer, being able to be used in multiple different situations, an amazing kiter just because of the fact that he can use his elbow pads or his ability to tank hits just to delay the match even more. But his only tiny drawback is that he has a big decoding debuff, and that can be a bit of a pain. I think the other things outweigh that. Psychologist is very similar to Mercenary, being able to take multiple hits, at least for the first kite. She also has the ability to long distance heal, and this is fantastic for beginners because often you'll find that teams are damaged all over the map and nobody knows what's going on. It's nice to be able to heal people up so that you know that you're in control of how the pace of the match goes. She doesn't have any decoding debuff, she doesn't have any drawbacks either, so she's a really solid pick. Enchantress, some would say, and I'm pretty sure that the comments section down below will tell me exactly how Enchantress is bad for beginners because she can be used in an incorrect way, but let's explain why. First of all, she's a good survivor for beginners. First, she has stuns and stuns galore. It's super easy to use her abilities and stun the hunter in a kite. She is really easy to learn and to use, and she has no impactful debuffs really. What she does take is a little bit of learning to learn how not to use her abilities, as using your abilities to interrupt animations for hunters is really bad because you can shorten long stuns by using your mini stun. By accident, you can stop attack animation recovery and other things like that. So make sure that you're paying attention to when you're using your stuns and only using it when the hunter is not in an animation. Magician is the final person on this list, being the strongest survivor for beginners in my personal opinion. Recently, he had a big buff, meaning that he got stronger than he was originally. His invisibility is crazy, being able to use 3 wands in a kite or just in general utility. You can use his wands in so many different situations to get out of being hit, to block different exits with his copy, and so much more. After being rescued, he also has a great ability that can keep you alive that is a real issue for beginners as they are not used to hunters camping chairs and they don't know what to do with it. If you're invisible, well, now the hunter doesn't know how to hit you once you've been rescued. He has great stats and again, no real drawbacks for anybody making any mistakes. I would say that he is really solid in every situation, and this is why he's at the top of this list. If you want to try out Hunter and you're really not sure which hunter you should pick, then you need to watch this video here and you'll understand exactly which hunter you should pick if you are a beginner.